Welcome back, everyone, to another thrilling, exciting, pulse-pounding episode of Some Dude Builds Some Shit. Oh, wait. Sorry, wrong cue card. This is Emberwood Bar, Episode 2, Skyrim SE, Open World Player Home. I am Necrasin as always. Now, before we get into everything, I want to take a minute to give a shout out to my friend, Captain Ron Phillips. He's got himself a channel here, and he's covering a couple of Let's Plays right now. Star Trek and Red Dead Redemption 2, as well as some other content. He does live stream on Twitch occasionally. And like me, he lives in Southwest Florida and was also negatively affected by that stupid storm from a few weeks ago. So, he's got some interesting videos here from during the storm and some from the aftermath. So if you're interested in seeing those, or you're interested in Star Trek or Red Dead Redemption 2, if you have a minute, go check them out. Tell them Necrasin sent you. When I first started making these mod development videos, it was when I built this lovely little house, player home right here, this log cabin that I called Lakeshore Cabin. My initial reasoning for doing that, for building this, was I kind of wanted a video record of the development of the house through various stages. And I thought, well, I'm going to video this stuff, I'll upload it, and I'll talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why I designed things the way I did, why I'm using certain pieces, and the changes I make during the whole process, and some of the highs and, highs? Wow. The hows and whys. Man, it's rough. Not enough caffeine today. Definitely not. Or maybe too much. Can't really be sure. Okay, so anyway, that is one of the things I want to do with this video, is talk about some of the things, because not everyone has opened up the creation kit. There is a bit of a learning curve. There's a lot in there, and I still don't understand 80% of it, which is a miracle I can do what I'm doing, but we'll move past that. Let me give you an example of some of the things in the creation kit and the peculiarities of them. This wall piece that I'm building this thing out of, that's this one right here. Okay, this is the same solitude floor piece that was sitting over there in the last episode. I tipped it up on its side. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it's what I call a one-sided piece, and there's a lot of pieces in the creation kit like that. And what I mean is it has texture. We can see it. It has collision. We cannot walk through it. However, if we come around here, we can see through it. And we can even walk through it. Interesting, right? So that's what I mean about a one-sided piece. Now, if I want to build a wall using this one, I need to take another piece like this, flip it around so it's facing the other way. And that's exactly what I've done. Right here. There's another one. But, as you can see, if I stand here between them, we can see through both sides. This is no good. This does not make a good wall. So the solution to that is we have to cover the gap or plug the hole, and that's what I've done here. Now, what I've done here on the end, I took the same piece, I turned it 90 degrees, and I reduced the size so I could stack them, and now we can't see through it, and it appears that we have a nice, thick, solid stone wall. And that's exactly what I'm doing to build this thing. And I want to point that out because right down here, you can see we've got a little window right here. Now, I cannot put a hole in this wall piece. I cannot put a hole in this wall piece. It's solid. I can't do anything with that. So if I want this gap, this window, this is actually, well, I'm going to have to reposition this one a little bit, but for demonstrational purposes, this is actually what's known as an arrow loop or an arrow slit. And it's so that defenders on the inside can shoot arrows out here to any attackers that are trying to get through. But in order to have this opening in here, I have one piece there, I have another wall piece here. I have to separate them a little bit. I have to put a gap in there. And like I did down there, I've got a piece right here to plug that gap so we can't see through the walls. And the same thing, I have a vertical piece here and vertical piece up there. Now I may end up repositioning and retexturing these, but as illustrates the point, I've not done this one yet. But there is an inside wall there, but we can't see it. If we come around to here, there it is. That's the old one-sided wall bit again. But I wanted to point this out because this is how I'm going to put windows in the building. Oh, by the way, the piece that I'm using right here, this piece, this one, this piece, this is all the same piece. This is one of the Imperial stone blocks. There are 6 of these, and here they are right here. I wanted to lay these out so we could see them. These things are great. If you're going to be building anything out of stone, you know, a castle or whatever, these are going to be your best friend because they have texture and collision on all 6 sides. So you can resize these, you can put them up on their end, you can spin them around, you can retexture them, and you can plug a lot of holes using these. These are fantastic pieces. I will probably use something like this one or this one for the crenellations, but I'll get to that later. That's not been done yet, but that's might be what I'm using for the crenellations. But that's what I used right here. In fact, I think it was this one. And these 6 stones are your friend. Very, very helpful. And that's what I've used in here. I retextured them. I flipped them up on their sides. And, you know, there we go. Plug the gap up there. Plug the gap there. And then build a little window frame. And that is how we make a window or an arrow slit. And I point that out because there is a gap right there and there is a gap right there. There'll be windows here and here at this level and up here and the next level there'll be windows. Now, next thing, the turrets, those round pieces on the corners. Let's put up the picture of Emberwood Bar again. And you can see the turrets on either side of that one. That's the rounded areas on the front corners. I came up with 2 options for building those, and one of them is to use that piece right there. There's actually 2 of them. It's a little hard to see with the sun in our eyes at the moment, but what this is a tower shell section. There's 4 of these. If you put all 4 of them together, then you'll have a complete circle. That big piece right there is the tower wall section. That's one of them. Actually, wait a minute. Here we go. This is one in its normal size. And in the creation kit, the size is 1.0. Okay, that's it in its normal size, which obviously is much too big for this little building. The next one to the left is 3/4 size. That's that one. So it was reduced to 0.75. This one is half size, so it's 0.5. This is a quarter size, 0.25, and this one's at 0.2. It's 20% normal size. That's what I used up here. But in doing that, as you can see, we got all these little windows up on this side, and I didn't really like those. So I wanted to look for some other option, something else I could use for the turrets. And I got to thinking, I looked into a bucket. Yes, I actually looked into a bucket, and we're going to take a look at that one in a few minutes. But I ended up using this barrel right here. And I retextured it, and I resized it, and that's what we have over here on the left. Okay, hang on a second. There, get the sun behind us. That's what I used over here. And I think this one looks way better than that. The only downside to this one, and it probably shouldn't say anything because once you see it, you can't unsee it, but there is a seam on the side there and on this side here. And I think that has to do with the fact that this texture that I'm using, this texture is essentially on a flat piece, even though that's the same texture and it's curved. But I'm putting on a texture where it wraps around. So I think you have the left side and the right side coming together and it creates a seam. So there is a little bit of a line. I really shouldn't say this, but I mean, if you don't look for it, you probably won't see it. But there is a seam that runs right up and down there. See, now that I pointed out, you can't unsee it. If I hadn't said anything, probably won't even notice it. Me and my big mouth. So, but that aside, I think this one looks really good. Now let me bring up Micklegate again. And you can see those little cross arrow slits on each one of those. I needed to replicate those. And there is a piece called a black plane, which will make for a nice shadowy area, but it's a really big piece. In fact, I think it's twice the size of this wall section. I couldn't shrink it down small enough. And my friend, the Nine DeLorean at Tap Gaming, I asked him for, I was actually looking for another piece, and I asked him if he'd seen that one and told him what I was doing. And he said, why don't you try the Dark Brotherhood Tenants? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, but that doesn't get me what I need. Well, then I spun the thing around, and this is the Dark Brotherhood Tenants. This is what you see in the sanctuary, stuck on the wall. When I spun it around, I had this, and I said, hold the phone. That might work. So I resized it, and I stacked some end to end, and that's what we have. And that looks pretty good. I need to build a frame around it, because it looks like it's just stuck on it. On the turret, which of course it is. So I'm going to build a small frame using a piece similar to this one. There's a smaller version of this wooden piece right here, and I will retexture it and shrink it down, and I'm going to build a frame for that. And the reason I'm building a frame for it is to give it a little bit of depth, so it'll sit behind the frame and it'll make it appear more like it's actually an opening in the turret, but you know, it's dark in there. So the next step is to build a turret over here. I'm going to remove this stuff, and I'm going to use the same item over here on this side, and I'll build a frame around that cross arrow slit there. This is, again, this is not an opening, but it just needs to appear like an opening. You won't actually be able to go inside this thing. Even if you could, it's actually pretty small. We're going to take a walk up there and see. Toggles and collision. Head up here. This is the first level. Here's the buckets I was trying to work with. And here is the bucket retextured and resized. This actually looked pretty good, except for this part right here and right here. That's the handles on the bucket. And that was causing a flickering effect with the piece on top of it. So I wasn't able to use it, which is disappointing because it actually looked pretty good. And it does not have a seam. But that flickering effect is just no good. But as you can see, the turret itself it's not very big. I mean, there's my character. Even if he could walk inside, he can't really do much. And because this is a solid piece, there's no way to leave off a section like I could do here. As you can see, I only have 2 pieces here. If I use this one, we could actually walk inside it. Not that you can do much, but, you know. This is here more for looks. There's that ugly ass seam, which hopefully I'll be able to bury that inside the wall so we won't see that one. But I still have a lot of wall sections to add. And you can see there is a gap here. I don't anticipate any windows down here at the lower level, but there will be windows up here on the first level and the second level. And I don't know if there's going to be a third level. I think we're just going to go to rooftop after that. But I have these gaps here. There'll be windows here, 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 and here. And these windows, they serve two purposes. One is, hey, this is an open world house mod. We want to be able to see outside. And since there is no pane of glass we can use, I had to create an opening. But in historical context, it served two purposes. Not only was it a window to let daylight in, but it also would act as arrow slits here as well for defensive purposes. And we'll have some over here and on the back, because we want to let in some daylight if we can. Now I have plans to build a small tower, and I think I'm going to attach it probably right here. You can see I still got a little bit of work to do back here. And I got to remove some of those rocks. Still a lot of work to do, but it's coming along well. So the small tower will be using, I think, this size right here. This is 0.25. And I'll use 4 of those, except on the ground level. I'll leave one of those pieces off for a doorway, and I'm going to build a spiral staircase in it. And that one is going to sit, well, like I was saying, probably somewhere right around here. So we can use the spiral staircase in that tower to get up to, you know, each level of the tower, up onto the roof and on top of the tower that's back here. But I also know that going around and around up a spiral staircase can be a little difficult, especially one that's really small and it's going to have a really tight, steep spiral to it. That can be, not fun. So I came up with a second, well, not a second option, just another option, and that's this ladder right here. Some ladders have a trapdoor attached to it, and that trapdoor is actually a load door. This one doesn't, but I can put in a teleport activator down here, so you'll be able to run in here, smack that thing, and it'll teleport you up to the next level very quickly. That'll be the quick and easy way to get upstairs. And the spiral staircase is here more for authenticity or something. You see that flickering effect right there? Yeah, I haven't repositioned these pieces yet, but this is what the handles on that barrel were doing. That's no good. So I still have to cap the ends on these walls back here. I have these portcullises in here. These are not going to have any activators on them, so we won't be able to lower these. You won't be able to lower and raise these because, you know, we don't want to disrupt the flow of I'm sorry. I couldn't keep a straight face from that one. I was trying to say we don't want to disrupt the flow of traffic on this road because, you know, Riverwood is a busy place. Now, there's really no reason to raise and lower them because, you know, I mean, you can just walk around it. But we want to be able to see them so we can say, oh, hey, you know, this is a proper gatehouse because it does have portcullises, but we don't really have a reason to raise and lower them. Now, if this were a castle, if there were walls that were enclosing an area, then we'd want to do that so we can keep out the riffraff, but we don't really need that here. We just need to see them. Another thing I'm going to add is probably a stone strip. Actually, I would probably take this piece and retexture it and run it across here because this is kind of a harsh transition. So I think I might want to put something up there and across this side as well. And in fact, I used that right up here at the top of this arch piece where this wall was coming down. There was a little bit of gap. So I retextured 2 of these and resized them and stuck them right there. And they're stacked on top of each other. One of them I rotated 90 degrees so it didn't have any kind of a repeating pattern. But that was just to, again, plug a gap. In this case, this piece was better than using these imperial stone blocks. So that is where we're at right now. Here I am walking through walls again because, you know, I can do that. Wow, look at the fog, huh? Mythical Ages weathers, man. It's the only way to go. So, yeah, this is starting to look good. I really like the way that turret looks. I'm going to keep looking for another piece that I might be able to retexture that won't have that seam on the side, but as it stands, this looks pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with that. And you can see down on the bottom right here where the crosshairs are, where we have a smaller piece there and a smaller piece there. What I did here, I just made a copy of this piece. I shrunk it down a little, pushed it down a little, and did the same thing here. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Listen to me. Who am I? I don't know. So I will take a copy of this and put it over here. I'm going to remove all that stuff. This is a custom one, by the way. Those is because I took the Imperial piece and I made a duplicate. I renamed it and retextured it because you don't want to retexture anything in the kit unless you make a custom piece from it, which is easy to do because you just duplicate it and then give it a unique name. And there you go. But you don't want to retexture anything without making a custom one, because if you do, I would have retextured every piece like this in the entire game. We don't want to do that. We just want to retexture the pieces we're using in our own mod. And that's why this arch piece, this is a custom, that's been retextured. The same thing with the walls. The same thing with our barrel up there. Sometimes I am a creative son of a bitch. I believe that's where we're going to leave it. It's coming along very nicely. I like the... Well, I'm really happy the Nine DeLorean told me about this. The Dark Brotherhood tenants, because that's exactly what I needed there. So that looks pretty darn good. Alright, that's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I will see you in part 3 of the Skyrim Special Edition mod development for Emberwood Bar.